and co-author, along with Rachel Bovard, of a brand new book, Conservative, Knowing What to Keep. Conservative, Knowing What to Keep, published last month. It's out there right now in hardcover. It's at Amazon. I just tweeted out the link of Conservative, Knowing What to Keep. Jim DeMint, welcome back. It's always good to talk to you, friend.
Hugh, it's great to be on the show with you. How was vacation?
No, I was in Spain, where the folks in Barcelona want to leave Spain, and the rest of Spain thinks it's crazy. It's kind of like California is to the rest of the United States. Interesting place to go. There, one thing we've got to conserve is a two-party system, because parliamentary democracies with low thresholds, they fall apart, Jim DeMint.
Yeah, well, we're not much ahead of that with a two-party system, but I agree with you from what I know of the parliamentary system. But we're certainly dysfunctional right now in Washington, and part of what we do in the book is help people understand what this clash of worldviews is all about. It's really chaos in Washington right now.
In fact, I just quoted Fred Barnes as saying the word polarization doesn't even begin to capture inside the Beltway where you and I are today. And what it means, it's actually a deeply bitter divide. And it's not really about policy. It's about worldview, I think. What do you say in Conservative, Knowing What to Keep? What is the source of this chasm?
You're exactly right. It's more than just politics. It's a lifestyle. It's a worldview. It's a way of looking at things. And what we point out in Conservative is the way we look at the world is really a spirit of gratitude. Is we want to keep those things that make life worth living, that make life better, and build on them and make them better in the future. The left tends to want to throw everything out. They find one thing wrong with a tradition or a practice, and they want to throw it out. And so right now, everything that we're doing that puts people ahead of country, and I'll have to give Trump credit for that. He really seems to intuitively understand that the government can't do all these things. He's trying to deregulate things, get the government out of the business. Certainly not perfectly. I'm not making a case for that. But the left wants all the power to be in Washington. And it's a point we get into very deeply in the book, is this idea of centralization of power, whether it be in Washington or the United Nations or European Union. The left believes that a few people need to be making decisions for a lot of people.
In Conservative, Knowing What to Keep, you were served up a favor by Elizabeth Warren. She doesn't want to keep anything of our current health insurance system. She wants it all to go away. Do you know, she's 6 points underwater against Donald Trump in Michigan, and I pointed out to Mike Allen this morning, that's because union members worked their whole lives to get those retirement plans. They negotiated for those retirement plans. They earned those retirement plans, and that includes health insurance. They don't want a new plan. They like what they've got.
No, and those who are counting on Medicare will not get it, certainly in not the form that it is if you try to stretch it out to cover everyone. It just won't work. I mean, she's seen her numbers in the trillions of dollars. What she's talking about won't work, and we won't like the health care that it gives us.
So conservatives know, let's stick with what's working. And for employer-based health insurance, there may be some transitions away that allow portability, but it works. Let me talk more basically, Jim DeMint, with you about freedom. And having just been in Europe, the right to be left alone is a big deal to Americans. We don't want people to tell us where to live, how to live, what to do, where to go to work, where not to go to work. We like freedom. And conservatives understand that it's in our bones, right?
You're exactly right. I mean, I think it's the highest form of life, and we should aspire to that for everyone. Just because someone can't make good decisions now about a certain thing doesn't mean we take that away from them for a lifetime. We need to build capacity to make your own decisions, and that's really what makes life worth living, is to know what you value, to make the decisions about the things that you value. The left really has an elitist attitude that the great unwashed masses cannot be trusted to make their own decisions about their own health care or their own education for their children, or even where they work. If they had their druthers, they would do what we've seen tyrants do in history, is basically tell you, okay, DeMint, you've got a 98 IQ, which is probably stretching it, but you need to be working in a certain profession. America has a different idea of that. And we need to do everything we can. Like you said, let people choose their own health care. If there's some who cannot manage their own lives, then certainly there can be safety nets. But let's don't design a health care system that assumes no one can make their own decisions and no one wants something different.
Now, Jim DeMint, you're also one of the few people who can comment on the impeachment morass because you were both a member of the House, which has the article power. They can move the indictment. And you were a member of the Senate that could try the indictment when it comes. And you've been on the outside and on the inside, and you're a man of faith, and you're a writer, you're an author, you're an influencer. I think that this is the most profoundly unconservative thing the Democrats have done, which is to take the most important power the House of Representatives has and bend it, break it actually, into a partisan scramble for points on a pollster's scorecard. I think it's just absolutely radical what they are doing, the opposite of conservatism.
Well, you're right, and it's sad, really. I mean, it's so discredited the House, which was already held in low esteem by the whole country, both parties really. But this has taken it to a new low, and I'm afraid that every president who has a majority or minority in the House is going to be impeached because they've reduced the bar so low for impeachment, just for something you might have said on a phone call, which you really didn't say, but it really didn't have anything to do with the phone call about Ukraine because they've been talking about impeaching the president since he was inaugurated. And they've just been looking for one thing after another and looking under every rock. They are discrediting the president as far as foreign policy is concerned. The Senate will not convict unless Republicans really cave. But I think what the Democrats want to do is so poison the water for President Trump that it'll make it hard for him to get reelected. But I still think he's going to get reelected despite what some polls say because I believe polls are generally designed to manipulate the public, not to measure their real attitudes.
Well, I think he's going to get reelected because the number one issue in every election is the economy, and we've seen record low unemployment. I'm 63. I've never seen an economy where people can walk down any street in any downtown in America and get a job. That's how I just try and communicate to people. You can actually go to work today if you're not working. If you want to work, you can go work today.
Yeah, it's what makes America exciting. All you have to do is take a few of the regulations and taxes off of the top of it, and it starts producing. And I'm convinced if we could keep this going a few years, that we're not only going to have jobs for everyone, but better jobs and higher pay. And we've got hourly income going up more than it has in several decades. And I think you're right. I think people realize, despite what folks say about Donald Trump, that his ideas are working. And I'm not claiming that he's a philosophical conservative necessarily, but most of conservatism is common sense and just looking at what works and try to do more of it. And I think Donald Trump's experience in development have given him a lot of ideas of what really works on a large scale.
Yeah, Jim, the conservative knowing what to keep can't be about one president. It's got to be about ideology and what we believe in. But I think the center-right conservatives generally are in a coalition government with the president, who's a party of one. He's just a party of one. And when he passes on, after 1 or 5 more years, it will revert to the norm, and we will be left with a $30 trillion budget debt. And so what do conservatives think about getting rid of a $30 trillion budget debt? In the past, Pitt the Younger used a sinking fund. I think we're going to have to do something like that. What do you think?
We are, and the book has very little about Trump in it. It talks about the dissatisfaction people have looking for candidates like Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders. They just dissatisfied with the political class. But the debt and the spending is completely out of control. It was during Obama, but now it's at the same level or even higher. And the Congress really does the spending, Hugh. And what I saw when I was there, and I'm sure you can see it from the outside, is the only way for them to pass the spending bills that run the country is to give the Democrats everything they want. Yep. On social and domestic, and the Republicans what they want, and for the military,
except
and
defense.
Other things like.
Except defense. You can't buy a fence.
But I'm convinced, in talking to some folks at the White House, when the president wins re-election, he understands he's going to have a real knockdown, drag-out fight on the spending, because all he's had to do right now is either shut the government down or sign ridiculously high spending levels. So hopefully the country will look at what's going on in Congress and make some big changes next time that gives the president more people to work with. But I don't think we have more than 5 years if we keep spending like this to have some type of economic meltdown.
No, I think Vladimir Republic kind of inflation. Jim DeMint, congratulations. The new book is Conservative. No, and I would hope that people go over to go find that for yourself. Let me tell you now about Birch Gold Group. Birch Gold Group